prayer before we begin our meeting, please.
Lord heaven, we thank you for the special envelope for everyone that attended here for the time one. Thank you, only that we ask that you provide us good judgment as we make decisions for the side of that.
It's just a couple of minutes after 10. I'd like to call the meeting of the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners to order. It's November 16th at 10:03.
Oh.
Don, would you please call the roll
Yes. Mr. Frank Denton,
here?
Mr. James Ainsworth,
Present.
Mr. Darren Black,
Present.
Mr. Milton Gutierrez,
You said I'm waiting to get into the.
Mr. William Clark,
Present.
Mr. Thomas McDonald, Mr. Thomas Rice Jr.,
Present.
Ms. Norma Yato, and Mr. Dave Yellowhead.
Present.
We have a quorum.
I believe, did I hear that Mr. Gutierrez is trying to log in now? Is that correct?
He's not currently, but we will figure it out.
Okay.
He's on text right now.
Okay, let's go ahead if we can. I know that Ms. Yato and Mr. McDonald will not be attending. They've both spoken to me. Norma had some city business that required her attention, and Justin is at another board meeting in Galveston today. So I would ask for a motion to excuse the absence of board member Yato and McDonald.
Dave Yellowdick, so move.
Your second?
James Ainsworth, second.
Mr. Ainsworth, second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we will when Mr. Gutierrez does finally connect, if you'll let us know, we will. We'll acknowledge when he gets online.
Absolutely.
Under item number 5, chairman's remarks, I don't have a lot to report this time, although we have had quite a bit of outreach efforts going on. I was privileged to attend the PHCC board meeting this past week and had a really good discussion with the board. It was kind of a town hall type format where we could just visit back and forth. They could tell us what we liked we were doing and what they disliked we were doing, what they thought we should do more of. And I kind of considered that meeting a part of our strategic plan, which will come up right after the first few years. That along with our town halls are going to give us some guidance as to which direction we're going to go the next couple of years. I think. How often do we do a strategic plan, Kenneth or Lisa?
Everybody in.
Everybody,
2 years.
every 2 years. So this is the year that we'll need to do it. And it's gonna probably require some revision this time. And I'd like to use a little bit different process of getting some feedback from the board and the industry as to which direction they'd like to see us go in the future. As a part of the PHCC board meeting, they had requested on our town halls that we do one in Amarillo. Is that what I said, Lynn?
I believe you did, yeah.
Yeah, Amarillo on April the 11th. They're having a board meeting up there and asked if it worked that we put that on the schedule and do one in Amarillo on April the 11th, which I agreed to do. Hopefully we're gonna do a lot of the same. Hopefully Local 68 will host us in Houston again. That worked out perfect. We had great attendance. The local in Fort Worth, and I can't remember the number.
526.
If maybe the local plumbing union in Waco, that facility was beautiful, had plenty of room, plenty of parking, so we probably would go back there. So anyway, it was good feedback, good. They didn't really, the board didn't complain about anything I didn't already know. They think our communication skills suck, which I do too. We're working on it. but there was a complaint about how long it took to respond to emails and return phone calls and things like that. We're keenly aware that's a problem. We're working on it, and I explained to them, and Kevin's gonna get in a little bit more about what we're doing to try to address that issue. The other thing that I want, and that, anyway, it was a good meeting and a good feedback interaction with the PHCC board. The other thing I wanted to tell you that's, I really don't have a lot of detail on, but I think it's remarkable, and I think it's potentially gonna be a big deal for the plumbing industry. I don't know how many of you are aware of a couple of gentlemen called the Koch brothers out of Atlanta. Y'all ever heard that name? They're billionaires that have Koch Industry, and it's spelled Koch, maybe an E on the end of it.
One of them passed.
One of them passed. Charles is still living, but they have Koch Industries. And they have created a 501c3 trust. The purpose of that trust is to eliminate poverty by providing jobs and people going to work and training and things of that nature. As I understand it, they have partnered with a regional marketing group out of Austin called Make It. And Make It promotes building trades in high schools and schools and such as that. And I have been invited to attend a meeting tomorrow morning at 8:30 in Representative Schaefer's office with representatives of each of those groups. As I understand it, they're wanting to showcase the plumbing, what the plumbing board has done in putting plumbing back in high schools and make it a regional marketing campaign to draw more people in, not just plumbing, but to the building trades. And they got some real money they're putting into it. They put $150 million into standalone foundation for that purpose. So we'll see where it goes.
Mr. Gutierrez.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Gutierrez has joined us by Zoom call here today. So anyway, I'm cautiously optimistic that might lead to something we desperately need. We don't have the resources nor the expertise to do a media campaign or a marketing campaign to draw people into the industry. We've been struggling with TEA to get the bureaucracy to go from a college-based curriculum to a more trade-based training in high school. And we're all singing off the same, out of the same hymnal between Stand Together and Make It. So I'm hoping that we, and I'm impressed that the little old rinky-dink plumbing board got the attention of the Koch brothers in Atlanta to invite us to participate in it. So all of that is a tribute to all the staff who have worked real hard to get the word out and spread it around the high school. So and I'll report back to you when I know more, but that's right now, all I know is I've been on a 3-way text with them about this meeting tomorrow. So I'll report back to you on that. Something that I'm gonna mention, and it's a little, not really, but a little bit stepping on Lisa's toes, part of her report. But I want to say it today because there's some people that will leave the meeting and might miss it with all the details and statistics that Lisa's going to give. And listen to this. In fiscal year 2022, which ended August 31st, our fiscal year starts on September 1st. Fiscal year 2022, this agency tested 4,953 individuals, both practical and written exams. And that's a lot of exams. That's really working. We had a pass rate of 70% overall. In 2023, that just ended on the August 31st, a couple of months ago, we had tested 9,616 individuals. Double what we did the previous year. So I think those are remarkable statistics and clearly a trend that we're doing the right thing and heading in the right direction. And I'll tell you, every employee at this agency should share in that success, because even if you were not directly involved in expanding the testing capacity and capabilities, you were doubling up, doing your own job, keeping the train on the track, while other people were building centers and programming to do the computer-based testing. So every employee at the agency shares the success of it. But I think that's absolutely remarkable that we've gone from 4,953 to 9,616 over a 2-year period of time. That's pretty remarkable. That's what we came here to do, and that's exactly what happened. You're gonna meet one of our new examiners. Those examiners have been getting after it, and you are certainly welcome to the organization. We'll introduce you in just a second. Everyone has worked really, really hard, and I wanted both those that are listening as well as the staff to know how much we appreciate what they've done. I know we're getting better because recently I had a complaint from a person who was just pretty upset that he had sent in his application to be tested November the 1st, and he hadn't heard a damn thing. So if it's been 2 weeks, if everybody's complaining about 2 weeks, I would say we're making some progress. Their expectations are gonna rise as we, there was a time when we all first got here, that we had 800 and some people reporting 1,000 people waiting to take a practical exam. And we have pretty well narrowed that down. Lisa's gonna talk some more later about putting the master exam on computer-based testing. And if you will recall, when we transitioned from paper tests to computer-based testing for the journeyman and tradesman, that 600 or 800 backlog we had disappeared in 2 months. It just went away. And the same thing will happen as soon as we get the master. I want to dispel a myth. Even at the PHCC board meeting, I got asked, have y'all stopped testing masters? Do you not? The rumors out there that we don't test masters anymore until we get it over to. And I made that statement to Lisa, and I thought she was going to take my head off. They have continued and are continuing to test masters as we speak. But soon we will have it on computer-based testing, and I don't want to get into Lisa's report because there's some transitions and things that have been made that are really quite remarkable. The town hall meetings, Lynn has done a workup, things in our board packet. That it's a template that we can fill in the blanks, and I would ask the board members to take a look at that template to see if you're comfortable with it. There's a lot of blank spaces about where we're gonna do the town halls. We've got a column in there, or Lynn does, that who we're gonna invite to these town halls. So if you're not ready right now, at some point be ready to say, well, we need to add this, or we need to add that, or we haven't invited this person, or we hadn't invited that person. At our last board meeting, we have pretty well decided that it's gonna be a little bit different format at our town halls. Less of me and more of the staff, to really talk about nuts and bolts with plumbers. I think that's probably really important at this point, that a member of the staff attend these meetings. Lisa went to one in Fort Worth and actually put on the screen and answered questions about individual accounts with their permission in front of the whole audience about how you find this and how do I know how many CE hours I have. So something along those lines is the way we'll do our town halls this time. We have decided that at every town hall we have, that we're going to invite the legislators who represent that area or their staff members, maybe the CTE person that's in charge of the high schools and the area high schools to attend it. The one thing that I want to be sure we do, and I don't think it's on the list right now, Lynn, one of the most successful town halls we had was in McAllen. And the reason it was so successful is Norma Yotto, who's the building official down there, sent a personal notice out herself to come to this meeting, and she filled up the auditorium. Those plumbers, if Norma says come to a meeting, they all came. So we need to enlist the help of our local building official in whatever city we're doing to help us get the word out for attendance. It was clear, they didn't show up to see me, or they didn't show up to see the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners, they were there because their building inspector told them to be at this meeting, and they all came, so. It was a great meeting because of that, and I give all the credit to Norma. Kevin has got the ability, and we did this last year, and we'll do it again this year, is to send out invitations to these town halls based upon zip codes of our plumbers who live in the area. And we do several blasts based upon zip codes within a 50-mile radius of where we're doing the town hall. We'll do that again. So, Lynn, anything else you want to add, or Lisa, about these town halls or that format?
No, just that we generated that format again to try to get the most bang for our buck, for our outreach efforts. So if there's any, thing you want to think about improving on or adding to it or inviting, just let us know. We're happy to help try to make the most we can out of those outreach efforts.
So board members, after you've had a chance to study that template that's in our board packet, if you notice something that's not on there, please communicate that directly to Lynn, because she's the one that's she and Ollie are kind of filling that out, so it'll help us do a template. Unless there's an objection, I don't know if we talked about it at the board meeting, but I'd kind of like to go back to Tyler, which is where we started them last time, and let's do one next month in Tyler. And I would ask, Dave, you were instrumental in lining up the Greater Houston Home Builders Association to do one of the meetings. Rick is gonna help us with Local 68. I would think we'll do 3 in Houston. We did not do one last year, but I'd like to do one in the Beaumont, Port Arthur area. So anyway, anything you have that you want to add, Darren is looking at where in the Panhandle that will be the best place to do one that might draw the most plumbers. So if you'll feed that to Lynn, we'll put that on the schedule. Any comment about the town halls or suggestion from any board members?
Feed them, offer them food, and they'll come.
Well, you know what Norma did?
Yep.
She not only told them to come to the meeting, she said there'll be breakfast tacos with her, so. But maybe we can do something like that. Maybe somebody who's willing to host us will do that, so. Okay, and that's really all that I had at this time. Item number 6. Kevin is gonna give us a report on Kevin. It's probably the thing that I am most excited about that we've done, and it directly relates to our ability to communicate with our constituents. The number 2 complaint we have at the plumbing board is their ability to communicate and call and email and things like that. And I don't see that as a problem. I see that as a symptom of a problem. The problem is we've not given enough information to the group that they're having to call to ask questions. So this is our attempt to get more information out and make it more readily available to all the plumbers and members of the public. So Kevin, talk to us a little bit about Kevin.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think that when we first started, that first weekend that we launched, we had no idea how many people were going to use it. I was surprised when they started rolling in actually, and so as you can see from the chart, we're now averaging 62 conversations a day, and that's a complete conversation. It often includes several answers, and it's trending upwards, which is great. I think that's really encouraging. We're like at the max of our message allotment. So it's exceeding our expectations in every way so far. And then last night I did a comparison between that first weekend. What I did is I went through every single response and rated it on a 3. I gave it 3 ratings. Either the answer was perfect and didn't need anything else. It it was needed some improvement. There was some good stuff in there, but it needed more details or whatever, and then flat out wrong. And so as you can see, let me scroll down here. So the first 60 answers that it gave, 60% were correct, 33% needed improvement, and 7% were flat out wrong. And in the time since then, we of course, whenever I see a completely wrong answer, I go in and revise it, and the AI learns from that. So now, as of last night, we're at 82% completely correct, 15% needs improvement, and just 3% is flat out wrong. So I think, you know, another few months of this and we're gonna be, you know, close to 100%. So I'm super happy with it.
Kevin corrects a lot of the answers that are brought to his attention that are incorrect, which brings up the point, if any of us in the room or on it, or we hear about an incorrect answer, we need to feed it back to Kevin so that he can fix it.
Yeah, I wanted to make that point, actually. We did an event with providers in Waco a couple weeks ago, and we asked them to participate and to use Ask Kevin and send us feedback. So their feedback is incorporated and has a lot to do with the fact that we're at 82% now.
Talk a little bit about the email volume. I know we've talked about it.
Yeah, so, you know, we don't have a perfect way of expressing or measuring what our email volume was before this. But we do know that once we started Ask Kevin, it went down significantly, and the number we had was about 40%. And we're not sure if that's, I didn't put it in this report because we're not sure if it's a perfect number. But it definitely has reduced the amount of inbound emails. You know, and the way I look at it is these are 62 conversations a day that if they aren't answered here, they're gonna be answered somewhere, or it's gonna lead to a completely frustrated plumber. So to me, that, you know, that is success right there.
I think it is too. I'm just astounded. Whether it reduced the incoming emails by 20%, 30%, 40%, whatever that number is, you're exactly correct. That's 40% of the people that are not having to call or not having to email to get their questions answered. I got tickled. Before we ever announced this and rolled it out, Kevin and Lisa and I were messing with it. And Kevin gave it to us one Friday afternoon, and Lisa and I were texting him. We're on a three-way text. We were texting him at 9 o'clock at night. We kept asking questions, and finally Kevin says, "You two need to get a life."
Now, was that this Kevin?
Yeah.
This Kevin, I want to make sure. Well, I will tell you something about the other Kevin. I asked the same question twice during the same conversation. And Kevin told me, he said, I've already answered that question for you once. It's that smart that it.
Artificial intelligence.
But I'm real excited about it. Lynn and Kevin are going to some type of seminar put on by DIR, is that right? DIR coming up. That's talking about agencies using artificial intelligence as a part of their program. And I'll be interested to hear it because I'm not aware of anyone that's doing anything with AI that directly benefits the consumer or their constituent base. There may be out there, and we may pick up some other ideas that we can do that, but it's definitely going to be a part of our strat plan going forward, trying to leverage the power of artificial intelligence to help us do our job more efficiently. The one thing that all of us have to be bullet point clear on, just because it's neat and just because it's really cute doesn't mean we need to do it unless it's making us more efficient, producing more material with less money and time, and actually a benefit. We don't want to mess with it. I don't care how neat it is or how great it is or anything else. We've got to directly tie back to what we do here at the agency and make this a better agency. And if it doesn't do that, then we're not gonna do it. And all of us need to be real clear. Cause there's gonna a lot of really neat stuff out there that is just beyond my comprehension. But unless we can directly tie it back to making us more efficient, I think we need to stay away from it. Not spend our time and our resources on it, so. Any questions of Kevin or Kevin? From the board? All right, thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I do have one last question. There's a limit of 5 questions, is that right?
That's a limit that we impose, and that was when, honestly, no one goes to 5. It usually is
I
down
do.
to 3. Yeah, you do.
I do everything I can to stump it, I ask you the question. to
Yeah.
trick it.
Yeah. I'll figure out if I can take the limit off for you.
No. But I guess if 5 is the limit, then, and nobody's exceeding it, then maybe 5 is.
Per day
or per account?
I believe it's per
hour.
hour. Yeah, and then, it does cost money, so we're just trying to limit that and see what our volume would be like.
So until you start getting complaints from somebody other than me, maybe you better leave it at 5.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, it's a neat thing, and I hope that the board and the staff appreciate the power of this thing and what it's, there are so many other things that are swimming through our head that we can do. It's gonna be a real intricate part of our future, and we're lucky to have Kevin here that can spell artificial intelligence, unlike me, so. Anything else, Kevin?
No, I'm good.
Lisa, if you will, let's move right into your report.
Thank you, sir. The first thing I want to do is introduce some more new folks, new team members. And, our staff is growing as it should be. And, I guess I'm gonna hit on the fact that we have one new examiner first, which is, Bart Fikak. And Bart's in the back, wave around there a little bit so everybody can see you.
Welcome, Mark.
And Bart will be working here in Austin. Occasionally he may go to Waco, but, he's assisting here. He's picked everything up pretty quick and we're just thrilled to have him.
Bart, did GW tell you you're gonna have to sing a song?
He mentioned something about that. I
Anyway.
don't think anybody wants that really.
And we also have Brianna Cherry, who's up there somewhere. And Brianna is, working right next to Gloria in the licensing department. And Brianna's just picked up on it and, like she's always been here. So we're thrilled to have Brianna. And not to be outdone, we have, Charlotte Walker, and we've taken Charlotte, it's pretty much trial by fire by throwing her into the CE conference a few days after she came to work here. And, she's done great, and she was able to meet all the providers. I think she met 100 instructors at our conference we had. And signed them in, and she is absorbing everything that has to do with the CE and the education and how it's processed and uploaded and that sort of thing. And, she has a lot of stuff, and so it's slow go, and she's just absorbing it like a sponge, and we're so glad to have her. And, it's just great. I tell you what, it has been so long since I can say, gosh, I've got this. Ooh, I can give it to someone. I mean, it's like magic. So it's really thrilling. And then last but not least, we have, Brian, and I don't want to butcher, are you Guerra? You're not Guerrero, you're Guerra. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Uh,
Good morning.
And Brian is gonna be our new enforcement attorney, and Brian is going to start on, the first of the month. after the holidays. But had a chance to come in today, so we went ahead and had him at the board meeting.
I haven't even met you yet, right?
Sorry?
I haven't even met you yet. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and so, here he is. So we're thrilled to have people, coming in. We also still have some postings out on our website. We've got a few applications for, maybe a maintenance position and, a couple other admin type positions. And I'm missing him here in the room, but the other important person that we just hired too is Robert Wilson. And Robert is going to be the, Fort Worth area in North Texas field investigator. And he's out training with another investigator right now. And we've had him down here with us as well. So, the next time we have an opportunity, we'll bring him back through. But thrilled to have everyone.
Welcome, one and all. I can't think of anything we need more than enforcement, education, examination, and licensing. That's the core of what we do, and that's what we need the most. And you are very welcome at our agency. We're thrilled to death to have each and every one of you, and thank you for your contribution. Glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Good. Charlotte is, like Lisa said, she was kind of initiating with fire. What, have you been here a week or 2 weeks or something like that?
About 2 weeks.
And Lisa just threw at the front desk of our continuing education. You know how brutal these CE providers can be. But I tell you what, you can handle them. I know you can. Look, we've spent some time visiting at that convention. And I look forward to getting to know you better. And obviously, thank you for what you do back in examination. And Gloria has needed help so bad that as long as I've been here, Gloria's been asking for help. And we're just thrilled to have you back there to help us out. So welcome, one and all. Glad to have you.
Thank you. The other thing I wanted to mention as well, we had a big, well, let me say this, I've got a note here too about the tradesmen, the journeyman, and the med gas endorsement applicants. Those are all up on the self-scheduling program. I mentioned it at last board meeting that we were transitioning to it. Everyone should, for the most part, with the exception of maybe somebody that has some bad files, should be using the self-scheduling tool. And when I say self-scheduling, they're actually using the software program through Pearson View to schedule for and take the written portion of their exam, but they're also using it to schedule to take the practical portion of the med gas, the tradesman, and the journeyman. And, when they log back into their account, they'll see two choices, Waco and Austin, and a variety of dates, and they can select from those dates. And if something comes up and they need to move a date, cancel a date, whatever they've got to do, they can go back in their account and do that. They don't have to call us to reschedule. It's one of the best things we ever did.
And I understand the significance of this because of all these calls that don't get returned, a lot, I mean, a ton of them have to do with scheduling and rescheduling examinations. So Lisa has got this set up where the plumber can schedule their own examination on their own time. They can pick their own date based on what's out there available. So all these things we're doing, Ask Kevin and self-scheduling and things like that are cutting down on the volume of calls that come in so that we can answer the legitimate calls that need to be taken. So it's to some, it doesn't appear apparent because there's still, some are still having some trouble with it. But every move we're making are cutting down on the volume of calls or emails that we're getting. And we're gonna get there. Just when you're running a race, you can't be looking at your feet. You have to look at the horizon. So we can't be bogged down in looking at the details of things. That's probably didn't come out right, but you know what I'm talking about. You can't be looking at your feet. You gotta be looking at where you wanna go rather than where you are right now. So.
And I'm gonna tell you, it was no small be, it's more, it was the challenge to get that done was huge. Dawn and I worked a lot of hours on it, a lot of testing. And there are still some snags in it, but by far, it's a great thing. It really cut down.
How long has it been up and operating?
About a month, a little over a month, full on with all three of those items. Probably what, 6 weeks gone? Cause we gradually added them into it. So there's still a few little snags here and there, but it's people in particular that made applications a long time ago. For their retests or something like that, that had some problem, a failure and 2 or 3 parts and that sort of thing.
You know, I would get fired if I said this, but someone. I made that mistake of going to social media again and looking at it, but. Somebody was complaining about couldn't get through. Some other plumber piped up and he said, if it wasn't for you guys that weren't doing it right to start with, those of us who have legitimate questions could get through and they could answer our questions. But because you sent in an incomplete application or an incomplete request for a test, then you have to call it 10 or 15 times and you're tying up the phones for those of us that did it correctly that have a legitimate question. I'd get run off if I said that, but Lisa and I were just smiling ear to ear when this plumber piped in and kind of fussed at everybody.
Yeah.
Look at your own account yourself and make sure you've got your fingerprints, make sure you got your required CE, make sure have renewed your license before you try to take an examination. Those are the most common things that we see why something gets held up. And it's fully within the power of the plumber themselves to fix that and to send it in correctly the first time. And those seem to be working great. The ones that make mistakes, that send incomplete applications, or they didn't get their fingerprint, or they let their license expire or registration expire before they applied for the journeyman of the tradesman test, those are the ones that are bogging it down. And those are the ones that are calling constantly. So we'll get there. We'll be talking about this in years to come, but I think it's getting better. I think our testing volume is going up. Our capacity is going to continue to increase. Lisa and I have got a meeting Tuesday with, I guess, the vendor that's going to supply the mobile unit. Probably should have GW on that call too, but TSDC and the vendor for the mobile unit, we're going to start the preliminary discussion about taking delivery on that or building it out, whatever we have to do. So our capacity is going to continue to increase.
Question, where we are on developing an app. An app for people to use on their phone. 'Cause one of the biggest problems I see, and I saw it at the Local 68 meeting, was somebody pulling out their phone and trying to pull up the website and show me something on it. And I'm like, I've been right there with you. It doesn't work on a phone. It's designed to be, like, maybe in a town hall, that could be one of the first things that goes up on the door. Is this right now is a desktop computer based web portal integrated app. It's not really designed to be mobile friendly, because some of the buttons don't work on a phone, some of the
Right.
links don't work on a phone, and that is not being communicated, I think, well enough. And my guys that are, sometimes it works, and they go, hey, I just read it on the phone. Guy sitting next to them on an Android can't get it to work, or an older version iPhone. So that's something that if we have, I know there was a discussion of an app being developed. Where are we on that?
That is part of a shared program that we share with 7 other agencies. And it is still on their list of items to move to. They say that sometime by the latter part of 24, it's possible that they have a better.
But that's
mobile
good
version.
to know that it's then, that way we can have people communicate to their, like, this is not a phone based.
Yeah.
That's
If
key.
not, and-
The system works, the links work on a computer.
And my understanding too, that we don't have the capability of doing that, just as the plumbing, we have to get all 7 agencies that are part of HPC to buy into that.
Yeah,
That way.
HPC actually will be the one that sets the program up through the vendor, which is Tyler Tech. And then, of course, the things that are custom, we'll work with them to make better and faster.
Tommy, give me an example. I don't know what you can't do on phone. What can they not do?
Sometimes links work, or sometimes the button doesn't, like, whenever you open it up on the phone, it might not size the website to the right size, but you're only looking at the top left corner of the whole page, so then you're not seeing the link to license renewal or fingerprints or whatever. If you open it up on a computer screen, it automatically sizes the whole website to the
I can a little
screen.
bit relate. Remember one time, Kevin, I told you that I couldn't ask Kevin on my phone.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what it was. It was sized in a different.
Well, yeah, and the TSBPE website is separate from the website that, Tommy is talking about. And we do have control over our website. But, the online licensing system, we don't.
So you're talking about when somebody
When you
really
click the
wants to
link
do
and go
something.
to the online license and you're looking it up, sometimes you cannot make it work on
Yeah.
an iOS.
You have to
certain
fish
operating
for a
system.
button because it's
Right.
way off to the side.
Right.
It does not work well on, Samsung. Occasionally, on an older one, the new ones, everyone I've talked to lately, it's been working really well. But it just depends on the version of the phone.
And that could lead to a lot of frustration, so just, I think communicating that, like.
Yeah.
As a back, if you absolutely have to, and you're in a bind, use your phone, but if you can, just get on the computer.
Is there an
Yeah.
alternative
Staff
to that?
Staff communicates that a lot. When they call and say they can't log on, we say, are you on a phone or a tablet or a desktop? And tell them it's much more efficient if you can wait and do it on a tablet and get home or something.
Is that a note that we can put on our website?
Yeah.
If we recommend that you wait till you get home and use your desktop or your tablet or whatever. We fear that too many people will just not use it.
It does work on some, it's just not
Yeah.
optimized for it.
Yeah. It's definitely not optimized and they are aware of that. And all the agencies that use it are keenly aware of it, so.
Kevin, is that a question that they have asked Kevin? I mean,
I don't think even Ask Kevin can solve that issue.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hijack the meeting, but
No, that
was a question that I've been meaning to ask, and
Tommy, that's something I've not heard before. I didn't realize that was an issue. I'm glad you did bring it up. Is there an alternative to an app that might solve that problem, Kevin?
Well,
Or Lisa?
down at the bottom of the online licensing page where it tells you about getting help and assistance, it does tell you that it's better to not use it on the phone.
can we put that at
Can
the
you
top?
pop it up there and read it?
Maybe make it
Kevin?
more
Yeah, can we put that at the top left corner, because the bottom is the hardest thing to get to
Yeah.
once you get to there
Well,
on the phone.
and that's from when you click on to go to online licensing, it tells you about that. And I was gonna mention something else about that particular page. There again, that's a core page, that's their page. But there's a note about it, about the use of, mobile devices. It's on the HPC page, after you go to the online,
Yeah, I'm looking at the one that says browser compatibility and all that.
yeah.
Oh, it says no handheld devices.
Yeah. It says no handheld, but it works fine on a tablet, because you can see the whole screen.
Thanks for bringing that up. I didn't realize it was an issue.
Covered that. I wanted to speak just a little bit more about our continuing education provider conference. That was such a joy. We had such a good time, if you can imagine, and I hope the providers and most of the instructors felt that way too. It's been several years since we've been able to have a face-to-face group meeting and everyone in the same room, and we had a lunch and we had a really great PowerPoint, which we all contributed to, but Kevin did all this, the put together on it, and it was great. And there's some photos that we used, and you'll see it was kind of a Western theme in there. And, then we share that with the providers, and they in turn, they'll share it with the plumbers. But we had about 122, and 100 of those were instructors slash providers. It was a really good time. It went all day. I think there was a bad storm that came in, and then we had a momentary power outage. And so we probably, had there not been storms coming, thought it could have gone maybe even another hour, because everybody was full of questions and everybody had ideas, and we had a lot of fun with the Ask Kevin, and I think that they were all very excited about helping and participating and testing it. But we also did a live web page showing how to use the online program. Of course, it was on a laptop, but the providers have just absorbed that like a sponge, because a lot of them already have a license, so they hadn't actually used the website. And there were several new items in it, and we wanted to show those, so that was really good too. And Kevin had to become an apprentice that day, I think. And we showed that. And anyone that didn't get to come to that, we've shared the PowerPoint and some other information, and they'll do kind of a makeup training class for their instructors. And we had it at TSTC, and I'm gonna add on a thank you to TSTC. We actually used their gym. And it worked great because of the location, but it just also worked great because they even loaned us staff to use. And we had good access to in and out, and plenty of room, and everybody could stretch out, and hint, we may ask to use it again. So it was a good event. We all worked really hard. Staff really worked hard on putting that together. And I feel like they got something out of it, but it had just been so long for everyone to be together in one room. It was good. Had all the field investigators there, had the examiners there. And I'm gonna skip down to one thing that's under exams, because we did this at the same time. The day before we did the continuing education provider training, we had a mega med gas day in Waco, and we invited as many people as we could reach out and get to come on that day. I think we ended up with, we had 60 invites. I think we ended up somewhere around 40. But we had one right after another running full blast on in Waco with our med gas setup, and it worked great, because you've got to imagine it's got a lot better ventilation and exhaust system in that building. It's all brand new, and so we were really happy with how it all went. And I could tell, well, GW's not in here, but GW was just worn out after that day. And matter of fact, and Frank came up for part of that day as well.
And if, I know it's you're gonna find this difficult to believe, but Lisa is harder to get off a microphone than I am.
No,
Yes, you are too. You talk all day long, nonstop. So,
well, I tried to get some assistance.
well, I tell you, I did attend, and it was a great event. The CE providers are, I don't have to tell you, are a critical part of our industry. They not only provide the expertise in training and teaching and continuing education, but they also help us in trying to teach plumbers how to navigate the system. So I think it was really beneficial, especially the portion where you actually, I think Don went online and showed how to actually sign somebody up or to get a license. It was a really good event, and I'm hoping that you'll take a large part of what you did there, and we'll include that in the town hall. Because I think it was that good. It's already there, keep it together, and
Yeah.
we'll take it on the road to these town hall meetings, and I think it'll be really well received with the plumbers, because I think they want some meat and potatoes at these town hall meetings. It's something I actually can learn, or something I'm having trouble with. just like the point you're making of trying to access their files, so. I'm not that person, but we'll have the expertise at the town hall meetings that can help them with that kind of thing.
I wanted to mention the other item that I have that's a kind of a hot button right now and has been for 2 years, but it's the communications on fingerprints. And I ran some numbers and we're constantly trying to stay on top of fingerprints. And, right now, there's 2,084 apprentices that have made initial applications and they're open applications. And this has gone on for a period of time. And we've done different outreach, trying to get them to get fingerprints, trying to get a copy of a photo ID so we can get their name correct. It's much easier for us to find the fingerprint match file if we know exactly what their real name is. But we are about to send out 2 more big blasts. And I had someone that was concerned that they'd never been told about the new fingerprints. And, I'm gonna tell you that we've sent out 6 different waves, over 400,000 targeted emails about fingerprints in the last 2 years. And we've advertised it on the website. We've made a handy dandy instruction sheet that's been out. We have the fingerprint banner at the bottom of most staff emails. It's also, and it has been for a very long time, it's on the page whenever you're doing the renewal in that program. I mean, you just can't miss it. And, but we're kind of in push mode right now because we're getting more applications in, and we're trying to process more of those applications. And this is the big holdup is fingerprints, and I can't even tell you how many emails that we get. I'm just wondering about how come my application hasn't processed. And it's fingerprints. So
Lisa, tell us again, how many apprentices are on hold because of lack of fingerprints?
there's 2,084.
Is that a renewal or is that a new?
That's reinstates and initials.
Okay.
We've got a big surge on reinstates, which is a good thing. Those are people that have dropped off, came back and want to get their apprentice back. And I assume it's because they left the industry and now coming back and they've got that experience and there's a higher demand. But and unfortunately, sometimes on those reinstates, there may be another reason why they've been gone. But we've got to look at all of that.
What about on renewals? How many renewals are rejected because of lack of fingerprints?
On renewals themselves, I don't think I can access that file, but I've got it. We're sorting them out and
But it's a big number.
on deficiencies, yeah,
We're talking deficiency, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
deficiencies. I think yesterday I said it was 11,006.
Yeah, it's 11,000.
Yeah.
Apprentices
I'm gonna
is-
say 11,642. It's not the exact number, but that's pretty
Think
close.
about that. That's half of our apprentices in Texas are sending in renewal notices without getting their dang fingerprints done. Which means they're not getting their apprentice cards back. So I guess, did we go forward at 6:30 this morning and sending out those emails, Kevin?
I'm sorry, what was that?
We talked last night about
Oh, yeah,
sending out.
they've been sent.
This morning, we started sending out 11,000 emails to apprentices telling them, because we're getting these, like Lisa says, the phones are lighting up, but we haven't got our apprentice card renewal back yet. 99% of them haven't gotten their fingerprints, and Lisa's got it set up properly that they're not gonna get issued a card until they get their fingerprint. So we sent out Kevin sent out 11,000 that started this morning at 6:30 to these apprentices, tell them, get in and get your fingerprints. And I guess we're also sending it to the RMPs, telling them that if you're working apprentices without a valid registration, you're at risk for an agreed order. So hopefully this will shake everybody up enough to get them going, but it's a huge problem. I don't,
We have until 2025 to get this job done, and we intend to get it done.
well, we're gonna get it done, but the problem is you got all these apprentices out there without valid registrations. And they better get busy. I'm telling you, it's.
Yeah.
It-
And the field reps are gonna be pretty busy, I suspect, after this big blast goes out, because our next step is gonna be to divide these up by county areas and go out, start looking for them.
I tell you, he's gonna be busy. I hope Identico gets busy, because I hope they're gonna get 11,000 people lining up to take their fingerprints pretty dang quick. And I really can't fault the agency, because I agree, and Lisa went over with me all the things that we have done. Those of you who attended the town halls, we never went to a town hall, we didn't tell everybody, you gotta get your fingerprints done. She sent out over 6,000 targeted emails telling them, get your fingerprints done. We got it on Facebook, we've got it on our website. Yeah, I don't know what else we could do other than driving by their house, picking them up, taking them to Identico. So, but ultimately, it's the responsibility of that responsible master plumber. They're the ones that are working these apprentices, and it's their responsibility to make sure that they're properly registered, which includes the fingerprint. So CE providers, if you're listening, you better get on the phone and call some of your customers and tell them they better get their folks registered.
Sir,
Is the renewal, via email or electronically as well?
it's on their, it's in their account.
Okay. There's a lot of people, you send me an email, it might go into one of 2 or 3 different, spam filters.
Yeah.
And, I have no idea of how, whether people bother going and looking at that. And, yes, it costs money to send stuff in mail. But if you really wanna get something to me, that's probably the only surefire way that some electronic genius isn't going to filter it away from me.
Which is an excellent point, and some things do go to their spam box, or filter. And what was interesting in this particular, the one I mentioned earlier about the person saying they didn't know about this, is that we actually are able to tell whether or not on these email blasts, whether they opened the notice. And this particular individual.
Oh,
had
we didn't
opened-
ignore it.
Yeah.
I'm capable of that too.
Opened it, read it, and ignored it. So, and that's not an uncommon thing.
No, I get it,
But mail, yeah, the manpower and the US Postal Service and the expense of it, I don't know if I'm. At some point, I may end up being there.
well, it is one of these things, every license in the state, what your professional engineers who in general don't go into your house to fix something or into your building to fix something, have had to have fingerprints for 10 years. So I lack a little bit of sympathy for these guys not paying attention to what they're supposed to do. Actually, that's not true. I lack a lot of sympathy for that, but okay.
Yeah, I understand. We've made a lot of headway on it. And the other.
Well, just to add on to that a little bit, I see what you're saying when it comes to the apprentice registration. But I put a lot of this on the responsible master plumbers that are working with the apprentices. They are the ones who are responsible to make sure that our apprentices are properly registered. So they better not be ignoring emails, because the RMPs are the ones that are accountable for it. They better be
And that might be the thing to do, is to go and hit the RMPs rather than concentrating on the apprentices.
We hit both of them. this
We did
morning,
both.
started about
Yeah, we
6:30.
did both, but
Lisa, when in 2025 is the drop dead?
It'll be August 31st or September 1. I'd have to look at the actual drop dead date on it. Actually.
We're gonna
I
make
think
it, we're right on
August.
I'll
schedule.
just say,
It's the end of the fiscal year.
so in 2024, what is our drop dead date? Sometime in 2024, what is our plan B that kicks in 2024 to meet that 25 date?
I believe that by the time we have to do any kind of reporting on what our process will be, we'll have such good tracking mechanism that we will have made a good faith effort to cover everybody in our population.
I think
And,
that what Lisa's done right now is you can't get a license or a registration unless you get
Yeah.
a fingerprint.
Right.
So I think by the 24, people are either gonna leave the industry or they're gonna get their fingerprints and come into.
Yeah.
Well, it's.
So
looking
I think,
ahead,
I think we've
I
got
see a
enough
sharp
time.
downward line on our next chart we're gonna come up to.
And that is your lack of fingerprints.
Yeah.
On that particular graph that you're looking at, and we can
Yeah,
skip
it's
over
coming.
that graph, that's it, right there. And you can tell, we phased in the different ranks. And so the apprentice, and the first part of the apprentices that we did were the apprentices that had the endorsements. Cause you know they're in it, or you feel like they're in it for the long run. And so we stayed pretty steady, but when we turned on the hold on the apprentices, that's what happened. And so that's a big percentage of that 11,000, that's
Yeah.
it. So we've been working on running some reports, and we had a little powwow yesterday and looking at some other ways to get it done. But I'm gonna tell you, I also gotta give kudos to a lot of the RMPs. We've had people call and say, I took my whole crew, I took 15, I took 25, we sent 50, whatever it was, to get their fingerprints done, and here's a list of them, and, I know it takes time, it takes between 20 and 30 days for the whole process to start, so don't wait till you're about to expire. But they would send us a list, and so I gotta congratulate the ones that did it that way, because it makes it so fast, and we know who it is, we can just go through there, look for them, process them, and we're done. And they're done.
Lisa, try to do something for me, try to contact Identico and see if they will print for us a poster saying that fingerprints are required of all people who are licensed or registered with the plumbing board, effective immediately, and print up enough to give it to CE providers that they can stick up in their class every time they have a CE class.
We could actually print, Kevin's handy dandy instruction sheet and give it to them.
But we need something that's, we don't rely just on the CE providers to tell them. But ask them to actually put that in their CE classes. In a big enough poster where they can see it. Just another something we can do to get it out there, so. Let's see if we can do that.
Okay.
As it's pointed out to me, we rely on these CE providers to do a lot and distribute and to talk a lot, but they need to be making sure that they're part of their curriculum or part of their training is teaching them, you gotta go, if you hadn't got your fingerprints, you better get it done right now.
And I'll tell you, there's gonna be somebody that says, they never told me that in CE class.
Oh, sure they would.
And
So
I
let's do
can
some
look
big
at who
posters.
the instructor was, and I know that's not true. But they have to drive it home. Yes, sir.
Lisa, on that 11,462 is a majority of those were waiting on that 30 to 45 day,
The majority of those don't have.
don't have
fingerprints.
fingerprints. You're aware, I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Majority of them, but what I've done is I've gone back and sorted them and looked at 2 or 3 different ways, and we made some plans of attack. We've probably got 11, they all worked on them last night, so I'm gonna say there's 1,000 fingerprints in a batch right now. And you've got 3 to 4 people working on it. And out of that 1,000, the majority of them just got them done in the last 30 days. And that's just a constant rolling. You can do 300 today and you'll have 500 tomorrow. So a lot of people are doing them. It's just it's a big job. But what slows us down the most is if you have an individual that has a very long history, those take more time and those might not. Some of them may be done in 3, 4, 5, 6 days. But what we call a no hit goes through really quick. Something that has a hit on it, it may take a lot longer. We may need additional information. And that slows them down further.
And that's not to say, as we've said several times before, just because you have a criminal conviction in your record does not mean you can't get a license to get the registration. But it does, as Lisa pointed out, it does slow it down a little bit because those are pulled out and they're individually reviewed by Steve and his group to determine whether or not to issue the registration of the license. So a lot of the complaints we've had from apprentices, and I think it's important, if they don't wait until it's time to renew to get their fingerprints. Do it right now, even if you don't expire for 3 or 4 months from now. Go ahead and get your fingerprints and we got it and it's done. And then when you do try to renew, it slides right through.
And I'm gonna add this, if there's anybody that's listening or anybody that wants to share this, if you've done your fingerprints and you've looked yourself up, I mean, we're not foolproof by any means, but if you've done your fingerprints and you've looked yourself up on the public search site and you don't see that fingerprint obligation met, it's either because you sent your app in the fingerprints, something, you know, maybe didn't get done, or you got held up somehow or another. But if you've got your receipt, you can send it to our fingerprints at TSBPE email and let us search it in case you're stuck somewhere. So we don't want anybody that's done it to get stuck.
And
We've done a
everyone,
lot of different things.
everyone needs to know that Bill pointed out, it's not, we're not picking on plumbers. The state of Texas is not just picking on plumbers. Same is true for engineers, same is true for doctors, electricians, everyone else is in the same boat. And fortunately for us, Lisa got an early start on this. Even before I got here, she was already doing the fingerprinting.
2018.
Yeah, so she got an early start on it, and because she did, we're gonna finish just fine by 25. But we're feeling some consequences right now with these surge of apprentices that are asking for renewals that are not fingerprinted, so.
I wanted to mention one other item. The current statistics are in your board book, and we'll share those with anyone that would like to see that. Item F under my report, I think we covered most of it. That's a TEA list of schools providing plumbing instruction. If Lynn wanted to add anything, I think she's covered that one.
Lisa, is there just, when I read through that, is there I don't know all those school districts, but it seems to be a lot of them are in the northern part of the state. Is there a reason, is there a focus up there that I'm not privy to, or?
I think the Dallas-Fort Worth area seems to maybe always be on that kind of,
The cutting edge.
yeah, they may jump the gun from other folks. And they've got some pretty big schools up there and a lot of money, and so they're gonna jump all over it.
And Lynn reports that TEA, Texas Education Agency, is warming up a little bit more and being a little bit more cooperative in providing us information. Lynn got this, Les Hudson through the TEA.
Yes, in 22, we had tried to get a list of all the schools
Yeah.
that had been teaching plumbing, and we were told one didn't exist. So we took the interactive map on the TEA website and tried to map out the school and then send letters to them to teach plumbing. We met limited success with that effort. Well, this year TEA gave us, Les Hudson, their TTE coordinator, gave us the list of the plumbing programs that are being taught in schools this last year.
And I tell you, I'm pretty optimistic. That's a pretty good list. In 2 years' time, we've got 40 schools that are high schools that are teaching plumbing. 500 students are in high school trying to learn to be plumbers. That's not even to speak of 6 community colleges who have developed plumbing programs. TSBPE is expanding theirs from 1 campus to 4. Lone Star College is starting a plumbing program. Collin County has got one. St. Philip's has got one. Just last week spoke to Lamar in Beaumont, or excuse me, Orange. They're gonna put in one. I don't think people realize we're making a tremendous amount of progress in a really short period of time. We're trying to trail in behind the labor unions who've been doing this since dirt. They've been training plumbers and putting out great plumbers for years and years. So,
College of the Mainland's doing one also.
you know, I just got that, just got it. So we are really making progress, and it's not too soon either. I mean, this shortage of plumbers in Texas is critical. And we're not gonna, even with all that we're doing, we're not gonna catch up, because Texas growth is not gonna stop. It continues to just leapfrog ahead with more people coming to town, more construction, more business. So even that I'm really proud of testing twice as many people as we did the previous year. It's still not enough. And we have got, just like to ask Kevin, we have got to develop a culture at this agency of continuous process improvement. Every time we think we've got it right, the first thing we need to do is try to figure out a way to do it better. And that's in every single area, whether it be accounting or whether it be technology or whether it be testing. We have got to always be looking out ahead and trying to perfect even more so what we think is already perfect. So, hey, Lisa, are you to the point of a break?
I am, or I could
Be
at least do other items since I absorbed one, that's up to you.
I think I'm hearing some grumbling up here, so if we can take a break real quick.
Okay.
It's about 11:14 and we'll come back in 10 minutes, 11:25. That's 11. It's 11. What? You said. How are you?
Good, how about yourself?
I hope you never find anything. So I'm gonna give myself a minute.
It's going good.
I'd like to call the meeting back to order and turn it back over to Lisa to complete her report.
I'm trying not to talk too much, but the next thing.
Now, won't you talk a lot here?
Okay, the next thing is really important though, is I know everyone's ready to have the master exam up and on computer-based testing. We had a great meeting with Pearson, about 2 weeks ago. And we worked out several different little glitches and some other preliminary items that needed to be done before we put that up live. And, GW, Dawn and I, and have sat down and we started, on the second phase of putting all the reference material together for the master exam. So we made good headway on that. And we even drug Kenneth in to help with putting some of the items on some spreadsheets. So we've made headway. There's just always something, that has to be done. But we've got 2 more days coming up. We've got December 19th and December 20th in Austin and in, Waco, that we're gonna do master exams for anyone that is missing a part. And when I say a part, maybe they failed their charts, maybe they failed their structure, maybe they failed the written, and I'm gonna tell you, the majority of them failed the written. And, so we're gonna clear out what we call bits and pieces. And I'm gonna say there's 112 of those. Whether I can get them all to get scheduled on those days or not, I don't know. It's getting it close to Christmas, but it is what it is. And then I have several military people that we're bringing in. And, because we're bound by law to act on them quickly, and we want to. So by the end of, right after the holidays, we expect to give the whole thing to Pearson, be able to do some testing, and hopefully, I know Frank wants me to tell her, Mr. Denton, I apologize.
Don't be Frank.
Wants me to say, this is the absolute turn on date, but I can't, so I'm being honest. I can't say this is the day I'm gonna turn it on.
Well, Lisa, I can't promise you that every second time I talk to you, and I talk to you every day, that I'm gonna ask you, when are we gonna have the master test?
And I expect that.
All right, so don't, cause I'm not gonna stop.
I expect that, and I
It's
deserve
so
that.
important. It is so important that we need to
Yes,
stop
sir.
everything else and we need to get that done.
It is.
Cause we've got masters out there that need to take that master exam and don't wanna wait for it.
I completely understand.
In your life, it's gonna be so much easier.
That I agree. It's how bad my life gets before this thing gets on, stop everything else.
I understand, but it's
And
that
so,
important to me.
Do you have the data on initial exams that are currently being processed? How many people are waiting?
And I do not have the most current report in there, because we're in the process of 2 different kinds of applications, and it's really hard for me to do. So I don't have that, but I'm gonna tell you, there's at least 112 that I know of on masters that need to get done. Your, the journeyman and the tradesman are pretty low. There's about 300 journeymen that are currently either scheduled or about to be scheduled to take exams. And bear in mind, I now have, and I haven't had this before, I'm able to run about 10 people every day in Waco, and I haven't had that before now that I have 2 examiners. You know, I had 1 examiner and then a half of examiner, we were splitting between the 2 places, so. It's coming on down, and it's, to me, it's just amazing. I can get somebody that sends their perfected application in, and it's all put together, they've had their fingerprints, they've got all their training, everything's on here. And, You know, their master may call and say, I just sent these 3 guys in, they're all ready to go. Bam, 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 you can click on it and in 20 days, they're ready to go take the written exam. Now, can I catch up in 20 more days to get them in here for the practical? No, not yet, but it's coming. It's coming. To see it happen really quickly and then it just pops up on their screen and we just put the grades in and in the perfect world is, life will be good. It'll be much better at that point. So I'm trying really hard, I really am. The other item that, I wanted to make mention of is, I'm gonna say those 2 dates again too, by the way, for anybody that's listening, December 19th and December 20th. And if you have 1 part or 2 parts that you need to get done, and you wanna do it in Waco, or you wanna do it in Austin, send a text. And the text number, I'm gonna say it out loud, and this is for scheduling. The text number is not to find out whether or not you've got your fingerprints done. That you can look up and determine and send an email. There's an email address for that. But the text number about scheduling is 512-839-4230. And you're gonna get me, Dawn, GW, or Ashley, somebody's gonna be on it. As a matter of fact, GW came and threw it back on my desk the other day and said, I don't like this, you can have it back.
Can you say that one more time, please?
It's 512-839-4230.
Thank you.
Do not text me and say, I would like to be on your list. Text and say what your name and your license number is. And if you're a master that needs a 1 part or 2 part, and you wanna come on December 19th or 20th, and you pay for your application, your retest application, you can go online and pay your retest. Then send the text to us and one of us will pick it up and we'll put you on this 19 or 20 day. What we wanna do is we wanna clear out anybody, because if we don't get you cleared out, or you don't pass, or your 30 days is not passed since the last time you failed, you're gonna go to computer based and you're gonna take the whole exam. There's just no way around it. So,
And they also need to designate Austin or Waco.
yeah, if they would, it'd be good. Otherwise, I gotta look them up and determine where they live and all that stuff. And I know everybody really likes to come to Austin, but if you live in that North Texas area, I mean, it saves you a whole hour of drive time and traffic and headache and everything else. Take us up on the Waco. So. Anyway, we're getting there. I think that's all I have unless anyone has any other questions. Oh, I wanted to add just this one thing, Mr. Denton, and then I'm done.
Yes, ma'am, Miss Hill.
Um,
You just think you're done. We didn't even start on the questions yet.
I know. On the contact us page, after they go to their, like, not the contact us page on the TSBPE website, but whenever they're trying to get into their account, they're gonna see that they can send an email to HPC. And it says on this page, whenever they're attempting to go to the online application, if they have a question about a license question, please contact your board. If you've got a question about resetting your password or your email address, or you can't log in, or your secret question, or whatever that is, that goes to the vendor, which is HPC, that handles that online program for applications for us. If you send them an email about whether or not your license can be renewed, it's gonna take longer for you to get an answer, because what's gonna happen is they're gonna sort through it, and then they're gonna go, oh, this batch goes over to this agency, and this batch goes to this agency. And then we get them all, then we've gotta sort through them, figure out who you are, and then answer you. So go to the Ask Kevin on our page or go to the, send us an email page or whatever, put your name, your license number and all that stuff in and we'll get to you. We really will. But try not to send license questions over to the online accountant technical people. Cause it slows you down and that's all. Be happy to answer any kind of question.
You know, who's gonna talk about our exam statistics? Are you gonna do that, Lisa?
I'm sorry, you covered quite a bit of them this morning.
I covered the bottom line, but I didn't go through the detail. Board members, y'all have got this colored document in there showing. From my perspective, I think it looks pretty good. Any observations on anyone's part? On the examination statistics? The only thing I reported is that we've gone from 48 or 4,900 tests to over 9,600 in 2 years, which is good, but if you peel the onion back and look at it, our pass rates are in line. Our journeyman went up from 75 to 82% pass rate.
And I don't expect that to stay there too long. What we feel like pushed up the pass rate was the ones that are coming, and this tells you education is everything, the ones that are coming from tradesmen to the journeyman, what we call a TJ, seem to have the highest pass rate because they've already been out there, they've already taken the tradesman, and when they've graduated up to this next level of questions, it's bumping up our journeyman.
They were
pass
ready,
rate.
in other
Yeah.
words.
Yeah. And we recently separated those two, types of applications in our system so that we could better count them rather than having to do them manually. That was one of the things we changed with Pearson. So when they go over and we get the scores back, we're able to look just at those people. And we saw that those people seem to be doing a better, and more successful job. But you know, you mentioned the increase. Well, that increase, if you look at the number that we've done at Pearson, that 3,352 in a year's time at Pearson, that's your increase. We run right around, we usually run, if we had full staff all the time, somewhere around 37, ties 42 and 4,500. If you were fully staffed the whole time, but even during the pandemic, in 21, we did a little over 3,000. Or in 20 and 21, we hovered right around 3,000 here in the office. And,
But just think about that, Lisa, in 3 years, you've tripled.
yeah, if we can, the 4,500 was not fully staffed, but we made it happen. But yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, by any measure, that's success.
Oh, absolutely.
It is the number one problem we had at Sunset when we first started this journey. And I'm gonna tell you, as soon as you get that master's online, I'm gonna say check mark, complete.
Yeah, and the masters, they need to, they're gonna need to study before they go. But the same thing's gonna apply to them. They're gonna have that 30-day, that 60-day, that 90-day waiting period. And it's just not gonna let them budge through the system whenever they go resubmit their application either, so. It'll be a little bit of a jolt at the beginning, but we'll get there.
Yep.
We're excited to leave them.
Did I miss somewhere in your report or in the printed material that I have the percentage of retakes as a part of these exams?
Yeah, I don't have it in there.
Okay, good. I didn't miss it.
Yeah, no, you did
Not
not
good,
miss it.
not good, but
It's not good.
good I didn't miss something.
We're in the process of developing some reports to make that easier, so it's not such a manual and labor intensive report to pull the retakes out. And once we get everybody over onto computer-based, it'll be real easy. Anything else, I'll be happy to answer.
Board members, any questions about any subject for Lisa?
Lisa, just going back on the field rep that we hired, Richard Wilson, or Robert Wilson, is he taking Fort Worth?
Kenny's, yeah.
Came up,
Place.
okay.
Yeah.
So we've got 9 field reps now, back up to
And-
9.
Yeah, we're back to 9, Steve. He makes 9, yeah. Yeah, that's like, whew, been forever since we've had 9. We could gain one, lose one. It's like having examiners again. I mean, you can't imagine what it's like living along
Oh.
with 2 examiners. I mean, you just wear them out. I mean, they can only go so much. But- So to have, multiple examiners, if one goes down, unfortunately, people do have to take off or get sick or go to the dentist or whatever, then we're able to cover it. Our biggest fear for the last several years is if somebody just goes down for a week at a time, I mean, it's tough. You're back to using field rep, me or Steve. So,
And it's gonna be even tougher with self-scheduling. Because you got those slots open and we gotta be there. So
yeah,
it's not like we can, okay, we're gonna be short-handed this week, so we're gonna have to push somebody out. These folks are gonna, something else that was interesting on self-scheduling that GW mentioned to me that I wanna share with the board. The number of no-shows has gone to 0.
good point. Very good.
When they're self-scheduling, they're always there and always on time. When we schedule them, we had a percentage of people that didn't show up for the test. So
And
I think that's a huge thing for us.
Yeah, what would happen is our scheduling letter is going to their secure inbox. Well, then if they couldn't get into their account and they forgot what the date is, or they talked to us and they forgot what the date is, they either had to call back or sit down and reset their account and go back in their secure inbox and get it. Well, they're getting a confirmation email that's going directly to their email and popping up on their phone now.
The one that they provided when they
On
scheduled.
the
themselves.
self-schedule, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really, it's a game changer for us,
It's a
And-
much more efficient use of our resources.
yeah.
When we have people actually show up when they're supposed to show up and we don't have any holes to fill, so. I'm real pleased with where we're headed. I couldn't be happier with where you're on with that. Except for the master exam.
I understand, sir. And rightfully so.
Lisa has not been able to explain to me why that's taken so long. And I guess it's just because I don't know, but I think we're at her word. I know she done everything else perfectly. I don't know what it is about this. Dawn, can you help with that?
Dawn?
Can you help explain to me
Come
why
with
this
me.
hasn't already happened? I'm messing with you, but
I know,
I am serious that it is so critical. It's gonna make things around here so much.
and we had that meeting with, Pearson View face to
I ain't mean
face.
for you to leave, Dawn. I would just.
Now you understand,
Yeah, now I do,
brought her to tears.
yeah. Yeah.
I can only make her work so many hours, and GW at some point revolts too and says, I can't take anymore. Last Friday, I mean, our brains were just fried and they're like, okay, I can't do anymore. And it's because you're going in so many different directions.
You know, Lisa,
Triage.
I've been asked, and I was asked at the PHCC board meeting, that when we do convert to computer-based testing for master, are there different questions?
Oh, yeah,
That was the question. Is it the same questions or is it the different questions?
yeah, and I get asked that question every day, and the answer is, all of the questions that you'll be asked have to do with good sanitary plumbing. And if you know your code book and you know good sanitary plumbing, you shouldn't have any problem. And will they be very similar in a lot of ways? Absolutely. But there's more OSHA questions, there are business questions on there. If you look at the majority of the exams across the state, most of they call them contractor licenses in a lot of other states, we call it a master. But they ask business questions. So you're gonna find that there's business questions in there. In most cases, when you get a master license, you're gonna go into business. That's not true for everybody, so, so some people might say, oh, I don't even know about this. But yeah, you do, because you're still a master plumber, and in most cases, you're gonna be overseeing people, and they're gonna be looking up to you to know a lot of stuff too. You're gonna go in business, these are important things. And in doing a lot of, license verification from one state to another, and that's almost a whole department in itself. We're seeing that a lot of states, that it's important to them that they know how to do business in their state. And so, we're revamping the study guide. And so we worked on the study guide, trying to get all the things that a person, section, the book, the references and that sort of thing. So the study guide will change, the exam will change to some degree.
And as I understand it, those questions rotate. Every person that takes a master exam won't be taking the same test.
Correct, it's a shuffle,
They shuffle the questions,
correct.
which is a huge improvement for quality of plumbers. Because we found that on the written paper test, there were some plumbers out there that were talking to the guy that just took it. He said, well, the answers to the first 10 are A, C, D, A, B, you know. So this is not gonna be possible anymore.
And that's one of the reasons why for a lot of years we had exam 1, 2, and 3. And then we would shuffle the exam 1, 2, and 3, so that you couldn't go back and say, oh, by the way, 6, 7, and 8 is this.
Yeah.
And so.
And I think the same will hold true for masters. If you look at our journeyman or our tradesmen, the pass rates remained pretty constant. So I wouldn't anticipate any different. One of the things in GW and Lisa's defense, a lot of the things that are easy to have on paper are more difficult to recreate digitally. Some of the graphs and charts and things of that nature. So that's part of the issue, I think, it's always up.
Yeah, and we've got all our charts done, and, we've still got some graphics to do. And just to get some final approval on some graphics and that sort of thing,
By our next board meeting, we'll be online, I think, for the masters.
because we're not having another board meeting until when, May? I do, okay, this is it, I'm done after this, I really am.
But just so, before you do that, Lisa, what I'd like to do is for you and or Lynn, finish up with your report. I'm then gonna ask, Kenneth to do his, because I think Kenneth's got something this afternoon. And then we'll pick Steve up, we'll break for lunch and pick Steve up right after lunch, so.
On the, on our outreach and efforts and our Spanish rules on the website, Lynn and, Ollie done a really good job on translating all of the items into Spanish on our rules. And on those town hall meetings, we recently went to, well, I had somebody that reached out the other day and wants us to attend with our backflow trailer, which Steve is working on getting that organized and doing a career day. And so we wanna make those as efficient and beneficial as possible. So anybody that's out there that wants to tell us, you know, you want us to come to your town or something in particular, be sure and reach out to us, send us an email, call us. A lot of people have our numbers, but we want to get the outreach up and rolling again. So I'm pretty excited about that. Got a couple other ideas that I don't have it all formulated and in place yet, but that we might be able to get done at those town halls. That's all I have.
Lynn, anything else you want to report?
I'll just add into our outreach efforts. We attended, or Ollie and I attended the University of Texas Law School Public Service Career Fair. We had been reaching out to the schools to try to enhance our recruitment efforts, enhance our outreach efforts, And, as you probably know, and as you met over the summer, we had a couple of interns from UT Law that joined us. They helped us in the legal department. They also helped us, with our criminal history background checks, as they moved into enforcement work. So that was a nice, found resource for us. And when we made that relationship, they invited us to their annual career fair, which we attended. We met some students that might want to come intern with us in the summer. We also found some, maybe potential applicants to help us out later on, but that was a nice free opportunity for us. So we, wanted to let people know about that. And then lastly, we did hear from North Dakota, from the executive director of North Dakota's board, saying that North Dakota was interested in having conversations with us to see if they could enter into a reciprocity agreement for journeyman license holders. They called us right before their board meeting. I sent them everything we needed to know, and now I haven't been able to get back in touch with them. So I'm continuing to shake the tree on that and see if North Dakota wants to move forward with us to examine if our education and our licensing standards are the same, and if so, we will put it on the track for reciprocity.
Lynn and I talk about this a lot, and she's constantly prodding other states to see if they're interested in doing that. And all you can do is ask. I mean, it takes two to tango, so.
Yeah, and to refresh, to expand on that and refresh your memory and things we've discussed over the last year, in 22, Ollie and I contacted surrounding states and any states we thought might have interest in working reciprocity with us. We got a lot of people that said they were interested, but following up with them has been, we've been shaking the trees every so often. Arkansas resulted out of that effort, and we're going to continue to ask those people that indicated they were interested if they want to move forward at a greater level of examination to see if we're good candidates for that.
I think the reason people aren't so excited, Texas is the only game in town. This is where all the work is. So we're the ones that are trying to suck some of those journeyman plumber into our marketplace. So some states are not in trouble for a lack of plumbers because of the lack of work there. So, but anyway, we'll just stay with them, Lynn.
Well,
Anything else?
We've got a lot of out of state movement right now. A lot of people coming here, continue to come here
That's
out of
good.
state, bring their licenses. And I was gonna mention too, I don't know what all's going on in Alabama right now, but we've had a lot of back and forth, plumbers.
Coming to
Travelers.
Texas.
Yeah, Utah, Alabama, quite a lot of movement.
All right, with nothing else, Kenneth, you want to go ahead and let's move to item number 10,
Yes,
our
sir.
financial report.
Good morning, my name is Kenneth Biddle, Director of Financial Operations for the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners. We'll turn to tab 10 with me. This is informational. We submitted our annual financial report back in October. We have it dated October 12th is when we submitted it. This is a financial roll-up of all of our expenditures that happened between September 1st, 2022 and August 31st, August 31st, 2023. And it encompasses 3 appropriation years. Appropriation years 2021, 2022, 2023. First page of the statement on page 3 of this tab is your, page 2 of this tab. This on the bottom is your balance sheet. It's your assets, liabilities, and fund balance, fund financial statement balance, which is, you guys are aware in the business world is your equity, owner's equity. Next page is all the expenditures and revenues we collected. This is revenues that directly impacted what our operations were for the agency. It does not include all the stuff that is swept by the comptroller that we collect for our license fees. So this is our appropriations. This is our Texas.gov fees we collect and redistribute to DIR. This is our conference and seminar fees and some miscellaneous little revenues we receive for salvage and some copying and books and stuff we sell here. So here's our financial statuses of the end of August 31st. The notes are part of financial statements that provide any information on some information in those financial statements, specifically the statement of capital assets,
on page 9. Long-term liabilities on page 10. Transfers to other entities on page 11. And that's really about it. So any questions on the finance AFR?
Any questions from the board members?
The other thing the board chair asked me to do is he asked me to prepare a schedule. You have it in front of you as an attachment on the side. I think I put on your desk.
It's not here.
Yep. I got yellow highlights all over it. So this is the schedule of significant financial reports we do every year and every biennium for the financial department. You'll see the first thing we have coming up is the agency procurement plan and the annual operating budget due in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. Items highlighted in yellow are those that are going to be specifically related to the legislative appropriation request and the legislative cycle and the strategic plan coming up. Starting that ramp up in basically December, we're gonna start with the employee engagement survey. Rolling up with our customer service survey in January. Budget structure changes in performance measures, changes in how our budget structure is set up, if we have any. Moving onward, we're looking at base reconciliation in May. Strategic plan. This is where you guys are really gonna be wanting to get involved in this is the strategic plan is due in June and our legislative appropriation request for the exceptional items is gonna be due late July, early August of next year. So as the board chair said to me the other day, it's like, oh, we're back to that again. It seems like we just got through with that. And that is true. Every 2 years, we're gonna be doing right in the same spot. It will be, you can put, you can change the numbers, November 2023 with November 2025. And just keep right on going. It's gonna be the same thing every 2 years.
And I wanted the board to have this schedule, just so you'll know what's coming up, that we're gonna be, and these, as I understand it, Kenneth, am I correct, these are all required reports that are required by the state of Texas.
Some of them are IRS reports, like our payroll reports that we do, 941s. So there's some federal reports in there and there's a lot of state reports in there.
So there's a lot of moving parts to the financial aspect of this thing, and some of it is really critical to our agency. Kenneth has never been too high on this financial report we just covered, and I understand why.
Doesn't tell you anything.
He doesn't like it, but I like it, because it tells you a little bit of where you're spending your money and where our money's coming from. But from a financial standpoint or an accounting standpoint with the state, it doesn't mean too much, to be honest with you.
Well, what this AFR does is it rolls up into the CAFR, the combined annual financial report, that the comptroller does, and our numbers roll up to them. I mean, it barely makes decimals, that's not on the comptroller's overall state, financial reports. But this rolls up into their report, they do some things for the government-wide activities. And then they use that to go out and receive, that A++ rating for their credit, so they can borrow money sometimes and get a really low interest rate when they're borrowing money.
But the reason I wanted you to have this schedule is put your thinking caps on, because before we know it, we're gonna have to put together a wish list for what we want in the coming biennium that we're gonna have to put in long before the legislature starts meeting. So it all ties in with our strategic plan. We need input from the board and from the industry about which direction we're going, where we're gonna spend our money. And just before we know it, we're gonna have to come up with some numbers of what we're asking for. And you gotta do it long before the legislature gets there, so it slips up on me every time.
Some of our items, I hope that we're able to generate ideas in a focus or a direction when we complete our customer service survey. And we, the last few years, we've been doing that electronically, and we'll do it again electronically. And we'll start that about the 1st of January. And, it takes us a couple of months to get it all done and compiled and then be ready to submit it, so. Along with, we'll also get ideas through our, survey of employee excellence, and may come up with something there too.
And this is what I'll say about the annual financial report. This is a backward facing document that tells you what we did. And I'm always a proponent of budget, because our budget is our forward facing document, tells you where we're going. So that's why I really feel that the budget stuff is, the stuff that means stuff to us, because we're in 24 now, and we care about what we're doing in 24. This just tells you what we did in the past, so.
All right, questions of Kenneth before we break for lunch?
Still trying to wrap my head around that line item about boats and airplanes.
Boats and airplanes.
Yeah, I just. Notice we got
Those are
money
the
in
ones we didn't buy.
Where are you seeing boats and airplanes?
vehicles, boats and airplanes.
We bought vehicles,
Oh,
we bought a car,
But it all falls under the
Yeah,
same
all right.
category.
we have
I
a
Steve could
Explorer we
use a
bought,
boat.
and we have Equinox, I think we have on obligated to buy.
It has not been built yet.
Yeah.
Now, do we have enough vehicles for Steve's entire team?
Until one falls apart on us.
Just barely. We've got a couple of them tied together out there.
Zip
The new
ties
guy
and
got
duct
that
tape.
one, right?
We got the one we just had fixed. But yeah, that boats, I think that's a general catch-all for all capitalized. Capitalized. Transportation assets.
Yeah, we have vehicles. DPS might have boats and airplanes and helicopters.
TxDOT does.
Yeah.
TxDOT has airplanes.
Forest and Wildlife.
Okay, well, we're not buying an airplane, so. Anything else for Kenneth?
About a $3 or $4 million budget, we wouldn't wanna ride in it.
All right, it's just a couple of minutes after 12. Let's break for an hour for lunch. I noticed lunch is not here yet, so let's give it an hour. We'll come back at 1 o'clock with Steve, record our public comment.
It's here.
Oh, it is here. Our public comment. Well, I tell you what them do. Let's come back at 12:45. Yeah, well, I did already here, so.
We can make-
All right, so meeting here.
You just have to read that you expired.
It's about 10 minutes to 1. I'll call the meeting back to order. We left off with Lisa's report and we're gonna pick it up with Steve, and I see Steve sitting there, so Steve, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know, I get my glasses on. We're looking at item 9. First of all, I was gonna kind of give you an update. We got an opportunity to go back to San Antonio and do a cross connection demonstration for their career trade days. We had done these in the past for several years, and then due to circumstances along with COVID, they had to shut them down. But typically, when we do these and with San Antonio ISD along with other outlining area schools, they bring in about 1,200 kids to participate, and they're all kids begin in the high school program. They're in some trades, whether it be electrical, HVAC, they may be in welding, plumbing, what have you. And we had an opportunity. I think our estimate was about 400 kids came by at different intervals, different groups, and we got to a chance to talk to them a little bit about the plumbing trade and why we protect the health and safety of the citizens and how we do it through proper installation of plumbing. And we get to talk about a little bit more. We talk a little bit about medical gas and other things that plumbers perform out there in the public. So we're glad to get back with them, and it looks like we've got Taylor coming up again, which we've done in the past as well. I think that's gonna be in February. So like Ms. Hill said, we're gonna, try to get back into the groove. It got put into mothballs there for a little while just because nobody was, having large groups. So we're back again.
So your schedule was clear to go to that Taylor?
I'm sorry.
Your schedule was clear to go to that Taylor?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Yeah, I've already got emails out to all the guys and just have it ready to, weather permitting, I guess. Of course, I think the last time we did it, it's just bad weather as we're unloading. So we got some good facilities inside the set up. If it's the same place.
Steve, something I've been asked by several people and would like for the year to do it, is to do a video of that cross connection demonstration and make that free and available to all continuing education providers.
Yeah, I've gotten with Lynn on this, and we've talked about, I actually several years ago, I actually videotaped 2 different examiners who are no longer with the agency. The reason I did it was so I could get a dialogue for the portable unit, for the unit that we, take out. So we'd have something in writing where we could hand it out for, if you don't do it, very often, then you tend to forget. So get something to back up and also something to help train, others.
So you already have it, the dialogue.
Yes.
Or script.
For the portable
Cross
units that we have, right.
No, I'm gonna say as a shameless plug, I'll let you know that I first came to know Steve and his guys before I was on the board. Our company I was with back then, we did a training event in Bastrop, and months before I'd asked Steve to bring the trailer out there. And that was one of the best received training events that our guys have gone. There's probably about 30 or 40 guys there. And to this day, though, I had videotaped that day with you guys, and it is on my YouTube channel under backflow prevention. And but it is a really good hands-on deal, and even just anybody that watches it, light bulbs go off. And it's just a really cool demonstration that you guys did.
The visual is the thing. You can talk about things all day long, but if you have it in front of them,
See colors moving back and forth, it's pretty impressive.
right. So,
Well,
yeah,
you stay after us, because that's something I'd like to do this year and make that available to everyone for free.
Bring that to a town hall.
Mhm.
Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Some of the public things that we do that it's a good. It's one of those things that, like you say, it's a visual things that people say, what does the board do? And so this is what we help protect against. And it's good anywhere you can do it.
I think it was difficult to communicate the scale of it in the past, but now with 4K monitors and a really good video camera. I think that pretty much any of the 50, 60, 70 inch monitors that are in all these conference rooms now, it could be pretty stunning. Yeah, I mean, you could produce that in a very, a gripping way. Like I said, when people see it for the first time, even when they think they understand the physics of it, it is pretty mind boggling, you know, what occurs, you know, what water can do.
Well, my video is not gonna be the greatest quality. In fact, I ran to Home Depot and bought some lights to set up so I could get a little bit more light in there but the sound is not the greatest, but it was enough for me to do what I needed to do. And so if there's anything there that we could utilize and
I don't
maybe,
doubt that there will be. I'm
Sure, there definitely will be.
yeah, maybe we could overdub.
I was thinking of something for the future, you know. where for
Especially
free-
the narrative part of it, especially the narrative, but. Anyway, let's do that this year, so stay after us.
Yeah, at least look at it and see.
Okay.
I'll have to search. Cause it's in a mini DV form.
Really? Sorry.
I know that date's been, bought the camera in 2000. But anyway, that was good to get back, with them. It's a good program and they've gone from, assigning the students to a class to where the students now choose what trade they want to pursue. So, although that was, you know, quite a step because again, you know, if they're interested, they're going to be more apt to stay with it. So, under the, under 9, the summary of complaint cases reviewed, administrative penalties imposed, that's under tab 4. This is the board review meeting report of complaints reviewed. And this is for the, fourth quarter, 2023, fiscal year 2023. You can see, pretty self-explanatory, some of the things during the 6 meetings, 146 complaints cases were reviewed. Contracting still stays high, but as we've kind of discussed before, the things that are kind of creeping up on us, and I think it's something that, you know, the industry really needs to keep in mind is that failure to take out a permit, which is the violate state plumbing code or municipal ordinance. And that goes along also with improper installation. That tends to be increasing as well. And then, of course, supply and furnish false information in order to obtain a license or registration. And you can see that one's right there, 16, which is directly related to the fingerprints. We're getting all that information and they provide us false information, maybe years in the past, and it's catching up now.
Never convicted of a felony, they say on their application, do their fingerprints, and they were arrested last year and convicted type thing.
Yeah. And of course, and some of it has to do with well, we'll look at that on the next page as well about the revocations. But in this case, this is the administrative penalty for providing false information in order to obtain a license or registration. So those are a couple of things that really stand out. Of course, we also break out the contracting in those that either were improperly licensed to contract with the public or had no license whatsoever. And then also at the end, we always show cases that were looked at and found that maybe there were voluntary compliance, no proof, warnings, such, those things that are listed there. And I think there are about 82 of those total. So, any questions on the administrative penalty portion? Board members, any questions? Okay, if we look at the meeting report for registrations and examination applications, there were 3 meetings on those, 116 total reviewed, and then you'll see that of those, looks like 96 total were approved, whether it be by application or for renewal. Then 20 were denied or denied and revoked.
What, are you on tab 5?
Yes, tab 5.
Yes,
Yes. That's fine.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, summary, yes, I'm fine. Sorry.
So these are some of the reasons that some of the folks that are being fingerprinted are being held up, is awaiting one of these review meetings to go through it, make a determination whether or not to issue the license registration or not.
Yeah, because with that, they'll get a letter, saying that they're lacking a supplemental criminal history form. And then all the other information that goes along with it, letters of recommendation, RMP, letters stating that they're knowledgeable of the criminal history, that they feel like that they're rehabilitated and they're not a threat to the community. So those are some of the things that we have to have. And I always tell those applicants that what they provide, they need to understand that we're looking at something on paper, and they don't necessarily look very good on paper. So they need to provide us with as much information as possible to give us something to.
A reason to issue them a license
Exactly,
or
yeah. I mean,
a
we're not,
registration.
they're not gonna get approved until we can feel comfortable, and we got something in the file that says we feel like they are rehabilitated or definitely on that road, and they're not a threat to the public. I mean, if there's any questions on tab 5. Tab 6, report on the recent field representative activities. Pretty self-explanatory. We have, this time we had the 8 field investigators. And of course, now we have Robert Wilson, who will be taking that Fort Worth from North Central Texas. And which will help everybody out. We'll get to send out some more complaints, kind of divvy them up a little bit smaller than they have been.
What's Robert's background? What was he doing before you?
Commercial and residential plumbing. He,
Private sector plumber then.
yes. And he's got quite a bit of experience. He's got about 20 years in both. So he's, well capable, and, like I said, I feel like it's not gonna take a lot of training for him to be able to start, getting into the meat of it, so to speak. And,
What city does he live?
he's just south of Fort Worth.
And he starts when?
He started, the 2nd of November.
Oh, so he's already on board. He's already.
Right, yeah, we had him here for, 3 days, just to get, paperwork and things that need to be done, and we did some training with him on, how things, basically a flow chart of how complaints, when we receive complaints and how they flow through our department. Got to meet everybody, kind of get a visual of how things run, and then this week he was in, the Fort Worth area working with our Dallas field investigator, Victor Sandoval. They're out there doing job site compliance checks, and he'll show him how to enter those numbers and, get this information, that goes toward the performance measures. And if there's no questions on the, summary report on the field activity, then we will go to tab 7. Tab 7 is just the cease and desist orders that were issued. And, I think there's no activity that's really needed on that. This is just for reference purposes, and, we've already done signing of our executive director.
17.
I'm sorry.
17. Cease and desist orders.
Tab 8, the board order administrative penalties. And these are penalties that have been issued and paid. Money's been received. And, Last page, of course, there is, needs to be signed by the board chair.
Members, are there any questions about any of these individual cases for Steve before we make a motion to? If there are no questions, a motion would be in order to approve the board orders with the authorization for the chairman to sign the appropriate document.
Second, Bill Paul.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks.
And then also along with that is the previous violator report. Those were highlighted in that board order showing that they had been, previous violations associated with those, individuals. And then under tab 9, I actually didn't do the default final orders. We got a break. And I think Ally prepared all these and, of course, there'll be the default order schedule and the default order individual, themselves. And, again, they will need attention by the board.
Is there a motion to approve the default final orders as presented under item L?
Dave, you want to second?
Motion and a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We have a supplemental motion is to allow the board chair to sign on behalf of the board.
Is there a motion to allow me to sign on behalf of the board?
So moved.
Bill Clark,
Second.
second, Ms. Tommy, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You're just gonna need a representative.
And, that's
Yeah.
That's all I have, as far as the, field activity and, if there's any other question, I'll be glad to answer them. I can't think of anything else really coming up. It's, we just participated with BPI, that was just yesterday. So, that was here in Austin. And, of course, we'll be back. BPI will be
attends
in
BPI?
Houston, February, I believe, and then the Building Professionals Institute.
Who attends BPI?
We usually take a field investigator from the area. And a lot of times I'll go, or Lisa will go, or whoever.
But I mean, who are the people that come to the?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, it's building officials.
So is it restricted to building officials? Does that who come?
They have building officials, anyone needing their code compliant,
Officials, building inspectors, I've gone to those as a code certified person.
fire marshals,
You know, for those of you who keep up with stuff like this, such as me, there were 88 disciplinary actions that were brought forth today. Cease and desist, agreed orders, and what have you. 52 of them had to do with improper or no license. In other words, 59% of all disciplinary actions this quarter are unlicensed activity. So a message to those of you who might be listening and say, we never do anything on unlicensed activity. 60% of everything we've done this quarter has to do with unlicensed activity. So, thanks, Steve. Just keep it up. And as Steve and I talked before the meeting, these number of applicants that are being denied and revocations are gonna continue to grow. Especially this next year, we're gonna see some higher numbers. Because if in fact someone knew that they were supposed to get a fingerprint, but they also know that they've been recently convicted of a serious felony, they have put off to the last minute going and getting their fingerprint. So I would anticipate the next couple of quarters, we're gonna see a high percentage of either revocations or denials. So, but keep it up. You're doing exactly what we're supposed to do, Steve. Thank you. All right, we've already done, tenants report. I think we're down to public comment. Donna, we got anybody that's come around this long?
No, sir, I'm not showing anybody.
So it's just us chickens here in the coop, huh? Are y'all are satisfied with the question? If there's no public comment, we'll move to discussion regarding the date for the next board meeting. Lisa would like to have it in May.
Second?
No.
Good job.
The chairman wants one in January. And that's the only thing I've got, is the ability to set the agenda and the meeting dates, because I'm just one vote like the rest of you, but that's the one thing I can do. But I would suspect we will be looking at sometime mid to late January for our next meeting.
That will be very iffy for me. My late January is fairly screwed up.
Is it? Okay. We'll look at that and see if it works for you. But as soon as we can nail down a date, we will, get it to the board as quickly as we can and put it on there, on your calendar. Any other business board members? Lisa? Anything else we need to discuss before we adjourn?
No, sir.
Lisa? Okay. All right, it is only 11 minutes after 1. I think we're done, meeting adjourned. Thank you.